Hi, welcome to my channel, Jennifer's Progress. This will probably just be a single video. I wanted to tell my story about how I came to change my mind about Trump, as well as the Democrat Party. No, I'm sorry, the Republican Party. And I'm going to steal from the hashtag walk away, and I am going to change that to a hashtag run like hell from the GOP. Okay, so earlier this year, it was probably around mid-July, I started to question some things about Mr. President Donald Trump. There are a few things that I couldn't seem to get answered, and they weren't showing up in mainstream media. And I can start with one of them, and then I will work my way back. So the first one was I came across a video in which I heard mentioned that Mr. President had decided to pledge $1.8 billion to Gavi. And Gavi is the Global Alliance Vaccine Initiative. It's a Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. At that point, I started to kind of raise my eyebrows a little bit. Okay. I guess it bothered me because it wasn't on the mainstream media. Secondly, and I'll come back to that, I had heard from some friends, an elderly Polish couple who would have no reason to lie to me, about a military base that was opened in Poland. It's been opened over the course of the last couple of years, and from what I understand, U.S. military troops have migrated to this base in Poland. It was an agreement between President Trump or his administration and the current administration in Poland. The military base, so far from what I understand, has about 4,000 personnel transferred. And the name of the base is Fort Trump. Again, it didn't hit mainstream media, and it just didn't set well with me. Okay, so those were two things. Now, initially, I was not that excited about him in 2016, but let's look back at 2016. What were our options? Okay, we're only given this two-party system, and it seems like any of the outsiders or outlanders that tried to run for the presidency never quite seemed to make it. And so what are we left with? We're left with Democrat and Republican. And I knew it was kind of always in the back of my mind, but I had never really thought about it. The fact that Trump had been a lifelong Democrat. Okay. All right. Well, again, everyone who said that I was wrong for voting for Trump, they couldn't seem to give me a reason not to, besides Orange Man bad, or he's a sex offender. Now, mind you, Hillary Clinton, that body count, I mean, we're hitting double digits here. And her husband, we know for a fact, definitely a sexual offender. Okay, so to me, it's looking about the same, except for I know the stance that the Democratic Party has taken on abortion. And for me, and like many other people, that was a huge factor in choosing Trump. He ran on a platform that he was going to shut down all monetary funds, taxpayer dollars that get rolled over to Planned Parenthood. Not just them, any other abortion clinic or services of that like. So I think that's where he started to really make a difference in certain religious voters. Now, I'll say again, let's go back to what were our options. And then anyone who didn't like Trump, they really hadn't done the research themselves as to why he wouldn't have been a good candidate, besides parakeeting what they heard on the mainstream media, CNN and MSNBC or the like. Now, so this is what I'm left with. All right, with Trump or Hillary. Definitely can't be Hillary, can't be the Clintons. They are a regime. They've been in it way too long. I didn't like that. A pro about Trump, from what I knew at that time, and all apologies, he seemed like he was kind of an outsider. But I had not really marinated on the idea of him as president, or even how our current government is sort of set up. Okay, fast forward 4 years later. And what I did notice was that never in my life had freedom of speech been so oppressed and forbidden. And I had never felt so fearful in my life to speak my mind or opinion, or even ask or question anything, be it historical events, current events, policies, or just why are things, why are certain groups, why did this come up, okay, in a certain way. Anyways, freedom of speech has never been more oppressed in my life, as far as I can remember. Secondly, I learned that abortion, the Mexico City bill, apparently this is something that every Republican president signs. So this was not novel. Okay. Thirdly, now there are a few events that I've really kept my eye on over the past couple of years. I'll name a couple. The first one being Asia Bibi. She's a Pakistani Catholic woman who, I believe in 2009 or 10, was sent to prison for blasphemy. Now, Pakistani Catholics live in the worst of the worst poverty. And put on top of that, under the worst blasphemy laws. You know, they really are kicked around. Well, she did her 10 years in prison, Catholic woman. All the while her family, I don't even know how she made it, lived in a small cell with a bucket to use the bathroom in. Her family, her husband, and her 2 daughters were just about murdered. They had to abscond from the country. And fast forward to, I think, 2018, she's finally set free and is able to leave the country. Now, for some reason, although her husband had petitioned the Trump administration for refugee status here in the United States, I don't even know if it was not only denied, it wasn't even acknowledged. Despite the research I did, I couldn't find anything. So they had to go to Canada. Now, mind you, Republicans or conservatives constantly make fun of Canada and Justin Trudeau and the fact that they see them as liberal, and you go on and on. Okay, seems a little hypocritical to me, but okay. Second, Alfie Evans. He was a little boy in England who basically had been on what they considered life support. There was no further treatment they could offer him. I think he had a genetic disorder of some sort. And so his parents, Christian, Catholic, had gotten in touch with a doctor here in the United States who had agreed to treat Alfie if they could get him over here with a new, with a some sort of new and just not a new sort of treatment, medications. I'm not quite sure the details right this moment, but they had been handed an invitation to come to the United States. They loved Alfie. And the Trump administration denied them entry into the United States despite the invitation put out by the doctor. So that's number 2. Number 3, I'm sure if anyone had followed a lot of the YouTubers during 2017, they may have heard about the South African white farmers who were being basically attacked, assaulted, raped, brutalized by the communist government of South Africa. Babies being killed, their farms being hijacked, just the worst brutality you could imagine happening now. I mean, right after Trump had become president. Again, they were Christian. Now, this is a communist government. And they petitioned and had invitations to come to the United States, and these were denied or not acknowledged by the current administration. Okay, so we have 3 things there that I began to question as far as the narrative. I won't even say narrative. As far as the, well, okay, I guess I have to say narrative, was being pushed that he was a Christian president, that he was going to protect persecuted Christians, and that's who I'm concerned about. And not only were these people not addressed, but they were ignored in their plea to come to the U.S. So the big demonstrations you would see about, like initially him blocking immigration from Muslim countries, a lot of that, I think, looking back now, I see kind of looks staged. Okay. So those are the 3 right there off the top. Now, secondly, I began to look at the campaign donors and who they were. And I realized that, for example, one of his largest campaign donors, the CEO of Home Depot, was also an enormous donator to Antifa and BLM.